Hey, everybody. Welcome back to CCXCC. That's going to be fun to say, isn't it, John?
Oh, I love it.
John Coates, how you doing, man?
Oh, I am doing excellent. Ready to get back into some X-Men.
Oh, yeah, man. For those of you who are just starting to watch with this episode, I am a artist and writer. John is a fantastic writer, and we are going to go through every single issue of Chris Claremont's X-Men run. We started with an In the Beginning episode where we kind of talked about the beginnings all the way through Giant Size X-Men #1. So if you want to get a crash course in everything that came before Claremont joined up, go back and watch that episode. But today we're going to start. This is it. This is Claremont's first official issue number 94. Co-plotted by Len Wein. He still had a little bit of a hand in this, right, John?
Yep. Because he issue 94 and 95 were going to be Giant Size X-Men #2, and so Len Wein was plotting it that way, and then they decided to break it up and just kind of restart the regular series from where they left off.
We're pretty sure that Claremont took control of the reins for the dialogue and everything on here. It was just basically the plot that they kind of shared, right?
Yeah. And I think you can tell when you read through it. It's got a different level of like drama and a little more focus on character driven as opposed to just action plot driven.
Right. You can definitely tell a difference. And I'm not sure, because the last episode we talked about Giant Size X-Men, and you were talking about this one section where you know that Claremont was in the office and kind of gave them, a little bit of a plot point for that story. And that's the one page that has this sort of soap opera kind. I'm going to use the term soap opera. I don't mean it negatively. I mean it very positively. Like just sort of dramatic human detail to it. And that's really what Claremont is kind of brings right away into this thing. These, like, the first issue of Giant Size X-Men, everybody was just at each other's throats, and that was everybody's one note, and then you come into here and we're going to see a little bit of a different thing happening. Now there's strings from the last issue that are still being tied up, so there's still some of that going on. And I'm sure that we're going to see it evolve as we go on. The other thing about this show is that I have never read almost any of these, like one or two here and there, in the middle of the run, until basically Jim Lee takes over as artist. That is like 16 years into this run. So if you guys are still around in 2032 when we're wrapping this thing up, we'll say right now we're going to have a huge party.
Yeah.
Because I will have finally finished it. But probably a lot of you that are going to take the journey on this with us are going through this exact same thing with me. And then those of you who are, in John's boat, who've read this and love this, awesome. Let's all do this together. So welcome to the comic club. Let's take a look at the cover first of all.
Yeah, great Gil Kane cover.
Gil Kane cover. I just noticed that. I did not, and and it says Deck, and I don't know if that means December or if that's somebody's initials that inked it. It's kind of weird that Storm is flying out of his mouth.
Yeah, kind of a weird composition. Like you're not even sure who that is. It's just like a yellow face. It could just be any random guy. I love the upside Colossus, like flying at you. Like that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that is cool. So you get this sense that they are falling through the air, and you can see the jet going. You know who it is because it says right on there, X-Men. You came seeking Count Nefaria. Instead, you have found only death.
Yes. You can't beat that.
Yeah, like right away the stakes are high. So let's crack this puppy open and take a look.
So my copy, the cover is completely detached, which saves us a little time. And also, whoever was the original owner of this book, they were all in on the new X-Men right from the get-go, because they are writing membership X-Men at the bottom and listing the superhero names of everybody, including, Polaris, Havoc, Beast, everyone who was in giant size.
Yeah.
And then on the picture, then they're putting their regular names, Kurt Wagner, Peter Rasputin, just so they can reference and they won't forget who's who. And of course, Wolverine doesn't have a real name yet, so he's just Wolverine. And the best detail is Angel, who is Warren Worthington, but on here it's written as Warren Stevenson.
Interesting.
So, he came close to getting all the names right.
Yeah. Did they color in Havoc and Jean's faces with red?
Yeah.
And Nightcrawler's eyes, I see. Oh yeah, and yeah.
Yeah, there's a few other pages with some nice pen coloring to change Cyclops' mask a little bit.
I love it.
Yeah.
And then they even put on the top, issue 94, August 75, an
August
X
of 75.
And is that a sticker, or did they write that for $4.10?
That's a stamp, and I'm assuming this is like a later stamp.
Yeah.
From then somebody selling it later on for, $4.10, like a shop, because with a beat up cover or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Super awesome. So one thing we will note is at this time, like as they started X-Men again, it's only bi-monthly.
Right.
It's not a monthly yet because they don't know if it's going to do well. And we get Chris Claremont listed as writer. Of course, Dave Cockrum as artist. And now we've got an inker, Bob McLeod. And for anybody who doesn't know, Bob McLeod would then go on to co-create the New Mutants with Chris Claremont a few years later.
All right.
Yeah.
As penciler, or?
Yeah, he's the artist of the first that like graphic novel sort of prestige book they did, and then the first few issues of the regular series. It's McLeod.
Oh, okay. Again, I don't think I've ever read that. I'm assuming Tom Orzechowski did the Doomsday scenario lettering up there.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah,
it looks great. And I love the whole composition of this splash too, because it's like, with it being, it's a mirror and you see Professor's bald head there in the mirror. And like, it's just a great way to get like the Professor is like looking at us and talking to them, but they're looking at us at the same point. Like, it's just great.
As I was drawing the title card for the first episode, the In the Beginning episode that we did, I was taking a close look at the way that Cockrum draws, and I noticed it here on Professor X too, is that the shape of his heads are interesting because they're very squat. You see, like he doesn't leave any room for a brain.
Yeah.
Sometimes. Yeah.
But
it still works, and it screams Cockrum, so right away that it's one of his drawings. I mean, he doesn't do it all the time, but it's like when I notice it, I really notice it. But no, this is like this is a classic splash page. I've always loved this one. The only thing that I ever wished was that Colossus was in his medal at this point.
Right. I also love how big Nightcrawler's ears are.
Yeah, they're huge.
In the beginning, like just massive, which is great. So here we go. Let's get into it.
Yeah.
So if you remember from Giant Size 1, the last panel is Angel asking, what do we do with 13 X-Men?
Right.
And so now 94, we're going to find out.
So again, that awesome Sunfire design.
Yeah, just awesome. Just looks great.
So many of these guys have chips on their shoulders when we get a get an introduction to him. So with 13,
yeah, especially Sunfire. And so right away, he's the first one. He quits.
Yep.
He did his duty. He did his mission. They beat Krakoa, and now he's out and he's going back to Japan.
Yep.
But then Storm says, "I'm going to stick around," and Wolverine, references Alpha Base, little future Alpha Flight reference there, maybe, and it's like, "Okay, I'm going to stick around too." And then they got to do a little convincing to get Banshee to stay, because Banshee is like, I'm an old man. I don't know if I want to hang out. And the professor's like, you're not that old.
Yeah, that's an interesting part about this, is that this new team, of Professor X's School for Gifted Youngsters has a couple of, Wolverine at this point is like 200 years old.
Yeah. Although it's hard to tell anything with Wolverine at this point in X-Men.
He is not a developed character at all yet.
No, not even slightly.
And what's funny is Thunderbird, the way that he talks to Scott during this feels like the way that Wolverine ends up behaving, in the future.
Yeah. We're going to talk about that.
Okay. All right. I love Banshee's the way that he draws Banshee in here. He's got that little pipe. He's like he really is like a leprechaun guy. That hair is like early 2000s. I grew my hair, tried to grow my hair long, and I did it for like maybe 2 years, and all it did was just keep curling, and everybody started calling me Thomas Jefferson, because that's about how it looked.
Oh man, you should have leaned into that with some colonial get up and stuff. Whew.
Yeah, I cut it off when somebody saw a picture of me and said, "Whose mom is that?" I said, "Oh shit, I better cut this off."
All right, well, we'll refer to this as Chris Anderson hair from now on.
Yeah.
It's great the way his cape wraps around him when he's just hanging out.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, it's just like they're just cool, just like they're hanging out in their cool costumes, and they just know they're cool.
It's like a glider,
Yeah. So then we get to, all the new guys are like, all right, we're going to stick around and see what's going on. And now here comes Angel and the original team and this sweet ad. And basically the original guys, they're all leaving.
Yep. Boom. Drops it on Professor X, who can read everybody's mind, but is shocked.
Yeah. Invasion of privacy. He can't read those guys' minds.
What a good guy. He doesn't just cry in everybody's mind all the time.
Yeah. And it struck me that like at this moment it's the book stops being a school for a while, because these were the original 5. They were like the kids, and it was very much, all right, we're in a school, but now they're saying we learned what we needed to learn at the school, and now we're going to go try and live normal lives. We're not superheroes. And everyone else who just joined, they're more adults, and like they're here to be superheroes, and there's no school going on. Exactly. And right here, Iceman, Wolverine mouths off like, all right, you guys are, who needs you? Just leave. And Iceman mouths off. And right here we get Wolverine's first use of "try it, bub."
That's the first time he says it, huh?
Yeah, that's his first, because he doesn't use it in giant size.
That's right. And he didn't use it in his first appearance in Hulk, right?
I don't believe so.
Yeah, I don't think so either. He also calls he also says, just do us a favor and spare us the soap opera, huh? Which I thought was great, because Claremont's run is always referred to as being very much a soap opera. So I thought that was funny right off the bat. The first issue.
High melodrama.
That's right.
And then you get it right the next page, like Cyclops, just like freaking out, like can't be normal. His powers won't let him. He's got to be wearing a weird visor at forever. So he decides he's going to stay.
So here's a question. He says that he's the only one who like kind of can't do that because, you know, I'm assuming because of the visor. But where's Beast at this point?
So Beast is like, he's the one, he's off. He's up with the Avengers already.
Oh, he's over with the Avengers. Got it. Okay.
Yeah, and he's already furry.
Yes.
So like in that in-between period when X-Men was in reprints, the Beast was in the like Amazing Adventures, and he like, you know, takes some weird formula and becomes Free Beast and becomes cool.
Yeah.
And then he eventually, you know, then he joins the Avengers, and we get to see him later on. Yeah.
Okay. So like so as they were kind of like, well, we're probably going to cancel this book. Let's pick it apart and get the coolest characters out. Let's turn Beast blue and move him over to the Avengers. Got it.
And I assume that's just because his name was Beast. So they're like, all right, his name's Beast. Let's make him look like a...
Yeah. Because he was kind of the
weird
weirdest looking one out of all of them. Really.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And then so they're all heading out, saying goodbye. Check out this getup that Jean's wearing. This is amazing. This hat with this like full pink bouquet in it.
Yeah, it's like a Kentucky Derby hat, or like, you know, I don't know where she's going. Like, whew.
Yeah. She's got plans. Obviously, you don't leave the house like that unless you got plans.
Yeah, and they don't involve Mr. Summers.
Yep.
And they kind of got to split up here.
And the man called Cyclops is all alone with 8 other people.
Yeah. And then everyone's waving by like, all right, everybody left. Yay. And now it's Danger Room time. And now Cyclops has got to whip them into shape and see what they're made of and really make them into a team. And now we start getting this good Thunderbird action here where he says, you got to be kidding me, One Eye.
Yep.
I'll see you at the exit, troops, because he's like, oh, you just got to walk across the room. No big deal.
Yeah, and of course, Thunderbird is good at insulting people.
Yeah, I love his just like one eye.
Yep.
Dig at Cyclops.
Banshee, like Irish or something like that.
Yeah, he calls him Shamrock at some point. Yeah, and it's like, oh, that's so good. And then we get awesome splash montage of the training. You know, like this is like,
yes,
this is your Rocky film training in the middle before the fight.
Yep, I love a good montage in comics. They're hard to pull off. Cockrum really nailed this one. It's cool to see the Danger Room too as just like a bunch of robotic things, as opposed to like holograms that it'll evolve into, you know, later, where it's just like the world around them. Here, it's just like a bunch of, you know, robotic things that come at them. Just kind of neat to see.
Yeah, just killer robot. Also, like who's on the team that is like the engineer that's like the robot tech whiz to like even make this stuff, you know?
Yeah.
Like, is that the professor? Is he doing that?
I mean, yeah, I don't know if if Hank is you know, he's obviously not on the team anymore. I don't know if he's like you know, the one to do that, if he's even smart enough yet, you know, because his brain, I think, is growing too.
Yeah, it feels like right from the get-go here, like there was space for a Forge character, you know, like he's just the mechanic guy who's going to work on stuff and stays at base. So we get they've been training for a while, and Thunderbird gets careless and he gets hit by a laser that almost cuts his leg off. And then that's when he calls Banshee, back off, Shamrock.
That's right. Next panel, I'm okay, One Eye.
One Eye, and the name's Cyclops, mister, and you're not okay. And so they're about to duke it out, and then the professor is like, Everybody needs to break it up. And then this little panel right here it's so good. It's just like melodrama to the max.
It really is.
With Thunderbird, he's thinking to himself, way to go, hotshot. Looks like you've blown another chance for yourself, maybe the last one. And instantly you read that, you're like, oh, well, what else did he blow? Like, I want to know some more backstory.
Yeah.
And then he says to Storm, what's the matter, lady? It bother you to work with a loser? And she's like, I see no loser, John Proudstar. In this room, I see only a man.
So he's got some like major self-esteem issues going on. Anger issues, self-esteem.
Yeah, he's super cocky.
And he's a realized character at this point, probably more than almost anybody,
Yeah.
He's got flaws.
Yeah. And I'll put it forward right now. It's a great setup because it's like the setup you get in like a ton of movies where you've got your drill instructor and your headstrong, trooper who's this cocky, arrogant guy. And then eventually by the end of the movie, he like learns leadership skills and he becomes like the leader.
Right.
And so like, as I read this issue and the next issue, it's like, I could totally see the setup where Thunderbird keeps developing and he takes over as the leader and Cyclops leaves the team.
Yeah.
And he ends up as the tactician and he holds everyone together. It's like perfect. But of course it's not going to go that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So the first half of 94, it's all just the team. They're just doing stuff, training, kind of figuring out some personal stuff. And now we switch over to what's going to get them into action. And we just go to NORAD, of course, and where all the missile command for the U.S. is housed. And all of a sudden, these guys are terrible at their job, and they just hit this button that opens a portal. And here come the AniMen.
Yes. These guys are such a cool design. They're so simple. And he's taken like everything that, like if you're going to do a frog man, it's going to look like a frog. Nope. Not when Cockrum gets it. He's going to add some ears on it. A cat guy is just going to be look like a regular cat. Nope. This one's going to have a beard. It's like he adds these like extra little elements, but everything else is so simple with these like soup cans or these like, red Solo cups painted silver, like on their ears with these antennas in the 70s tech.
Yeah.
I love it so much.
Yeah. Like this frogman, he's basically Merman from He-Man,
yes.
only 5-7 years earlier.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's great. And of course, they tear through these soldiers. And then here comes their boss, which is Count Nefaria.
Yep.
Who we saw briefly. If you watched last episode, Chris showed off early issue of X-Men 22.
Yeah, here. So, well, let's get to this actually, you're on the page. Okay. So yeah, you can see him down there. So they refer to issue 22 and 23. So let me pop it up here real quick. And here's issue 23. And here is Nefaria and the group of bad guys that he has working for him at the time, which are also a lot of really cool throwback great designs, because you got Porcupine Man, right? Is it Porcupine or Porcupine Man?
I think it's just Porcupine.
Porcupine, okay. And then you got Plant Man, right?
Mm-hmm.
You said this is the eel?
The eel.
Clearly the Scarecrow. And then I was trying to figure out who this is. He looks like Spectre Man or like Ultraman or some sort of, character like that. But that is Unicorn, who shoots a laser from his head.
All 5 of those guys look way cooler than Nefaria.
Yes, Nefaria is really lame.
Yeah, that is one of my notes. Is like it's a lame-o villain.
Yeah, why is everybody following him too? Here's Unicorn using the blast against Cyclops.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I digress. Flip this back. Lose that one. So anyway, they've met him in the past. Same setup. You know, he's trying to take down something in Washington D.C. So he has this group of villains that he is in charge of for some reason. Coming back to this issue, same kind of setup.
Yeah, and I assume they're using Nefaria just because he was an older X-Men villain who showed up, and they're still trying to like have some sort of connection. Even though there were great villains already in the book that were like way better than him, and they could have put in here, but he gets you that generic steal the missiles from the U.S. kind of a plot.
Right.
We can just get them going. And then, so then we flash back to the X-Men, and we get a nice little moment with Cyclops and Nightcrawler. And Cyclops kind of reveals that he's not just mad at Thunderbird. He's actually mad at himself for not being a good enough leader to prevent Thunderbird from getting injured. And I thought that's a nice little moment into what he's thinking, and he's not just the brainless yell at everyone because I'm supposed to be in charge.
I love this little two panel moment on the top where he's just sitting in the chair and his hand on his thing and just thinking to himself.
Yeah,
you know,
great pose, leg up. Yeah.
And when Nightcrawler comes in, he's like, "Excuse me, I didn't mean to intrude." And he says, "It's okay. Was just thinking. Come on in." Who in the modern day just sits in a room and thinks? Nobody. They're on their phone. They're doing something else, you know.
Yeah. Uh-huh. I also feel like that's a little line that, like, Stan Lee wasn't gonna write that.
Right.
Like, that's something that just simple and ordinary.
Mm-hmm.
Like, So then here we go. Now here we see our beast, our blue beast. And I don't know what is going on in the Avengers that they can't step in.
Right.
But the Avengers are calling, the Beast is calling the X-Men to step in, and they're like, okay, we're gonna go. And then Cyclops tries to get Thunderbird to stay behind because his injured leg. And he's like, "Nuh-uh, you want to try saying that through a mouthful of knuckles, one eye? I'm going." Awesome. Just awesome. And the professor's like, we don't got time to argue. Everybody's going.
Yeah, there's this sense throughout all the rest of this where they keep pointing out the fact that like they need to move their asses. We're trying to move this along.
Yep. And then here we go. They're on the plane, and Wolverine makes a comment about knowing people in NORAD, and if they're injured, he's going to cut some people up.
Yep.
And the
very tiny pieces, in fact.
Yeah. He's like, "You're Joshin, lad, aren't you?"
Yeah.
We got to work on our Irish.
Wolverine is not Joshin.
Yeah, he does not Josh.
No.
And I like this bit. Like the Air Force is like, "Oh, what are you guys doing in the airspace?"
Yeah.
And they're like, "Are you guys the Avengers?" And like, "No, we're the X-Men."
Yep.
Instead, and they just accept, like, "Okay, well, I guess you're another superhero team. We need your help."
Yeah, except for this 3-star general here hates muties. He's he really gets into it. I think in the is it here? Yeah. Yeah, like of course if Nefaria is around, it's muties that show up when Nefaria are around.
Yeah, obviously.
Duh.
And Nefaria has control of all the base, so he launches missiles, of course, at the X-Men, and it blows up the back of their plane. And wait for it, the first mention of the what? Is this a raw key? Oh my gosh! But that's this is Claremont using the Phoenix as talking about the airplane, because the cockpit shoots off the plane and they're saved.
Yep. And so like this little,
pissed.
like this extra, this like it's a jet with a jet on it. It's like the old Mask toy that was like a helicopter that turned into an airplane. Like, who cares?
Yeah.
That's the lamest thing ever. It's one flying thing turning into another flying thing. But of course, in this moment, when you need it, when the back of your plane is on fire, you can shoot off the front, which is also a plane.
Exactly. but then, man, NORAD has got some wicked weapons, because like, why they even waste time with why waste time with the missiles? Because they have a disruptor beam that just disintegrates the plane around them.
Mm-hmm.
And now they're just falling through the air. Leaves us a nice cliffhanger.
Whoa. Next issue, War Hunt. Man.
War Hunt.
So we get off to a banger. We got cliffhanger after cliffhanger on this thing. Well, I mean, that is a pretty good intro to this group and the dynamic that it has. Still got to flesh out, like we've hardly seen anything from Storm. Beast is
Storm.
Yep. Wolverine has only had a couple moments. Colossus hasn't really had much of anything yet. So we're still getting
Banshee has had some moments, but Banshee's moments have just been like in conversation, not really like combat moments. And it's a much more enjoyable issue, I think, than Giant Size 1, because I think the character development as you're reading it, like focus that Claremont is already bringing as the writer, is noticeable, and it's really enjoyable.
Yeah, absolutely. And Cockrum's firing on all cylinders, as is evident in that very first splash. So stuff's gonna. This was the setup. The next issue is gonna really pick it up. So next week we're gonna take a look at issue 95. So however you get your hands on it, it'll be Classic X-Men #3 if you can find it, or you can get it on the the Marvel app, or go to your local shop and see if you can track it down. Anything else to say about this one, John?
No, other than as you guys start to read and follow along with this, like leave comments. Let us know what you think of the issue.
Yeah.
And how it's progressing here.
And I'm sure some of you have insights that we don't have too. It'd be great to know, for future things too. And we'll refer back to those comments, in future episodes too, if it's something that we missed and think it's important. So yeah, let's do this. So everybody, we'll meet together again next week for Chris Claremont X-Men Comic Club. Until next time, John Coates, where do they find you on the webs?
Instagram at JD Coates and at dinobeast.com for my comics.
Awesome. And then I'll put all that down in the show notes along with all my stuff. There will be a thing at the end of the episode. And at the end of the episode, there will also be a very quick time lapse of me drawing the banner for this episode as well. And you can go on my website and purchase the originals of that if you want. Awesome. Well, John, until next week.
Yeah, be excellent.
All right. Join my Patreon to see my work before anyone else. Plus, score physical sketchbooks, mini comics, and commissions delivered right to your door. And read my new books, Something Seems Off and Three-Headed Pigman, as they are made. Go to my website to order original art, commissions, and my books, Lost Angels, Spectral: A Showcase of Fear, Chaotic Neutral, and more. Gray Matter Drip, The Art of Chris Anderson, is available now from Cosmic Lion Productions. Here are the upcoming conventions I'll be at the time of this recording. And don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe. It helps spread the word. Thanks.